Tyler McCain, husband of missing woman Nikki Chang Saley McCain, has been arrested for violating a protective order. Oh, we're going to get into Tyler and more in today's video. Hello, 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 and welcome to Alexasrewm, where we are not lawyers, we are not medical professionals, we are not law enforcement, we are just people who desperately need a haircut, and people who have opinions about all things going on in the true crime community, including where is Nikki Chang Saley McCain. Now, if you missed my part one on this video, I will link it in the description box below, and I highly recommend you check it out first before getting into this video, just because we went over pretty much the series of events as far as we know, which isn't a whole lot, leading up to the moment where Nikki sent her last text message, as far as we know, again, to her sister Chloe, which is allegedly the date that we believe she had officially disappeared. We also went through the incident report that was filed in December of 2023, so a little bit more than 6 months ago, where Tyler was ultimately arrested for multiple felony charges of DV, including DV, assault, false imprisonment, just to name a few. When she went missing, it was just 2 weeks before Tyler was set to go to trial, where he was facing these felony charges. So very interesting timing, but I wanted to start with this report because it just came in a couple of days ago on August 1st. And I think it's just pretty telling to see the man behind just all of this. I mean, the man who might have potentially been the last one to see Nikki McCain and maybe even knows more than what he's leading us on to believe. So let's go through this and then we'll kind of work our ways a little bit backwards from here. But deputies arrest man married to missing Reading woman. Again, this was on August 1st. So 6 days ago when this video is being posted. Or wow, dang, 525. Okay, so this was from the May arrest when he was arrested. I guess 525, 24. Interesting. Okay, so then I guess that was for the DV charges, but he was also arrested back in December. So unless this is a totally different charge that I don't know. This man seems to be in and out of jail these days, but he was arrested on Wednesday night, according to the sheriff's office. Deputies around 9:34 p.m. they conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle for having no license plates on West Side Road in Reading. Interesting, Tyler. Where were your license plates? Was this a new vehicle that you were working on? Hint, hint, wink, wink, cough, cough. I mean, why? Yeah, just why? Was it not registered? Like, I have so many questions about that. The driver was identified as Tyler Scott McCain, and a records check revealed McCain's license was suspended, and he was a restrained party in an active criminal protective order. Why was your license suspended? Like, was it due to the I'm just so many questions. Why was your license suspended? How long has it been suspended for? I tried to find some kind of police report or any, and I could not find anything. If you guys can find something, please email it to me at alexasroommate with 1M at gmail.com, or you can DM me on Twitter. That would be great, at Alexasrewm. But yeah, I'm curious as to why his license was suspended and why he had no plates on this car this late at night. Like, did you just pick it up from? It's a little sketchy. Tyler. One of the terms of the criminal protective order said McCain was not allowed to possess firearms or ammunition. A search of the vehicle was conducted, and deputies said live ammunition was located. Interesting, but no firearm. Okay. And I wonder to what? Like, what rounds match which, because remember, tracking back to my video yesterday, Tyler had, when the police went into their home to search for any evidence that they could find related to Nikki's case and her allegations of um, DV against Tyler in that December incident report. They were looking for the tape that he allegedly covered her mouth with. I think he also might have taped her wrists together as well too. He bound her wrists together. And what they also found was multiple firearms. I believe it was 5 firearms, one being an AK-47 rifle, which I do you guys know if he was a hunter or anything like that? I couldn't find anything because that from the limited research I've done on GUNs, and my little knowledge of them, um, that could be used as a hunting rifle, which is fine. I don't know. I mean, it seems to be a mountainous area. I don't know if Tyler's an active hunter. Fine, okay, nothing wrong with owning firearms, but you think AK-47, you think, wow, that's some heavy artillery. And what would you need that for if not for hunting? Now, again, these are questions that I naturally have. I'm sure that if this was ever going to go to some sort of trial, the DV trial, if that was going to happen, if it does happen again, we find Nikki safe and sound and she decides to go forward and press charges and reopen this case for sure. I'm sure that is a question that would come up, but I'm just curious why he would need to have that particular firearm and what this live ammunition matched up to. What kind of artillery that would go with. But anyway, they didn't find the firearm in his car. So he was arrested, booked into the Shasta County Jail for violating the terms of a protective order and driving on a suspended license. He bailed himself out on jail Thursday morning. So that's all we have. There's not a ton that was reported on this at all. Who knows what charges are going to be coming for him in the days and weeks ahead. I don't know, but I mean, he definitely has not been quiet from the headlines. That's for sure. Here's a quick video clip going into a few more details about this, but again, it's so limited.
Shasta County Sheriff's Office arrested the husband of missing woman Nikki McCain. The Sheriff's Office said Tyler McCain was driving without a license plate on West.
Now, this vehicle, and I'm going to actually, this might be part of my thumbnail too, is strikingly similar to the vehicle we see, or one of the vehicles we seen in the video, in the news reports after the fire he was cited with. So I'm curious if this was the vehicle he was allegedly working on that caused the fire with the faulty catalytic converter. And I'm going to actually bring my wife on in a little bit to talk more about that because she's pretty knowledgeable about car stuff that I'm not, so she'll be able to better explain it to you guys. But this looks awfully like one of those cars in that video, and we're going to play that in a second. But as I was watching through this, I'm like, wow, I feel like I've seen that truck before. And yeah, lo and behold. So I'm curious, one, if it is one of those vehicles from over a month ago, why this doesn't have plates on it now. Is this car even registered? I mean, he can't technically drive it. He has a suspended license regardless. I don't know. It just, again, it's more questions that I have. Why are there no plates on it? Why are you driving without with a suspended license? Why is your license suspended? What shady crap are you into?
Side road in Reading last night. Deputies say his driver's license is suspended, and he should not have been driving. Deputies say he also violated the terms of a restraining order by having live ammunition in his vehicle. Now, the jail says he posted bail this morning. His wife, Nikki McCain, has been missing since May.
So I'm also curious too, because they're saying he violated a restraining order, even though it was reported in other reports as a criminal protective order. So, was that the same protective order that Nikki had against him for the December 2023 incident? I don't know, but it's interesting considering his case gets dismissed because of the Sixth Amendment, which essentially says you have a right to a fair jury. You have a right to face your witness in a jury trial. And because Nikki was missing, she wasn't obviously able to show up. So the case ultimately got dismissed. And, there's a video clip I want to play through as well where a legal expert talks about the case dismissal and what next steps could be if and hopefully when Nikki is found safe and sound. So I'm going to play that one next. Again, we're going to be doing a lot of working our ways backward, but it leaves me with so many more questions. Like, who is it your truck? Is it registered under your name? Why is your license suspended? How long have you had that car? Was that the car that was running that sparked up the fire? I don't know. I don't know, but I hope somebody is asking these questions.
Running attorney Douglas Gardner also says it's not unheard of to try domestic violence cases without a victim and believes the DA's office wants to keep their options open down the road.
They clearly want you to understand that charges can be refiled if they get into a position where they feel they can make the case. At the present time, they apparently don't feel that way.
It's been nearly 2 months that writing woman Nikki McCain has been missing, with the case being actively investigated by the Shasta County Sheriff's Office. Last week, Shasta County DA Stephanie Bridget dismissed the domestic violence trial against Nikki's estranged husband, Tyler McCain, telling us in a statement this, quote, difficult decision was made because Nikki has still not been located and her presence at this point in time is necessary to move forward with this case. Bridget added that her office reserves all rights to refile this case in the future, saying they aren't sharing further details because they don't want to jeopardize the ability to retry the case in the future. For those facing domestic violence, One Safe Place in Writing offers several resources.
So One Safe Place was the place that Nikki went to before I think it wasn't really clear to me, and we'll hear this later, I think, from her sister Chloe, who I believe states that Nikki, um, again, this is in regards to the December 1st incident report, but on November 29, that was when Tyler essentially beat the crap out of her for 3 hours. She escaped, thankfully, went to One Safe Place. This, as far as I'm understanding, went to One Safe Place, hid out there as she states for 2 days, and then gets in touch with her sister or vice versa. Her sister takes her to the hospital, and then that's when the authorities are notified. So this is the same place that they are referring to now in this video,
including connecting people to crime victims assistance from the DA's office. CEO Kimberly Johnson tells me domestic violence is a, quote, very prevalent issue in Shasta County, saying the OSP staff aims to support victims while maintaining confidentiality.
I think we've been incredibly inspired by the advocacy that our community is doing and rallying around the case that's happening right now with this incredible mom who's missing. For us, confidentiality is really important. And so although our partners have let everyone know that they made a referral into our services, whether or not a victim chooses to seek those services or what those services are, that's not our story to tell.
So there's that. So they have a chance to refile, which is why, and I know there's been a lot of talk about, they shouldn't have dismissed the case. But I mean, for me personally, I think if and when they are able to find Nikki safe and sound, hopefully, I'm sure she would want an opportunity. I mean, if anything, this would strengthen her case, especially if Tyler does have something to do with it or knows something about it that he's hiding from us. I think this would just only help her case more. So if she did refile, I think I think regardless, Tyler's gonna see some time. It's just a matter of what evidence the police can come up with. So my hope is that she's found safe and sound. They can prosecute him on these felony DV charges. He can see his day in court, and she can get justice for herself and for her children as well too, because remember, they're also victims in all of this. But until she has been found, this case has been dismissed. But at least there is no, as the legal expert explained, there is no double jeopardy. They can go and they can refile at any point if they so wish. But at this point, they just don't have a strong enough case. I mean, yes, you had that incident report that was taken by the officer. He did record it on an iPhone. I don't know if he recorded that interview with him and Tyler. There was nothing stated in the report as far as I could tell. And you guys, please correct me if I'm wrong about Tyler's interview being recorded, but that's where we're at in regards to that. So now I want to get into the fire that occurred pretty much like exactly a month ago. And again, we're going to work our way backwards a little bit now in the timeline just so we can get a better idea of who our boy Tyler is and the upstanding citizen or innocent man he claims to be in all of this. I mean, regardless of whether or not he had anything to do with Nikki's disappearance, he seems like a really stand-up guy getting arrested, breaking his protective orders, beating women senselessly. Like, I regardless of if he has anything to do with this disappearance, which I am personally inclined to believe based on the evidence that's come forth so far, um, and the fact that he hasn't said a word, he hasn't shown up. He's given a lot of Brian Laundrie slash Scott Peterson vibes, in my opinion. So it's not making him look good for sure, especially with this California wildfire that broke out last month.
The fire on Olinda Drive in Anderson that saw nearby homes evacuated and hundreds of acres burned. The North States News' Max Tedford is live out at the property where it started. Max, what did you learn today?
Well, Glenn, we now know that the fire was started here by a car left running at this property on Olinda Road. And we now have confirmed that both the car that caused the fire and this property are owned by Tyler McCain, husband of the missing Nikki McCain.
McCain approached me today while I was
That
filming
car,
the damage left behind.
this truck right here, doesn't that look strikingly similar to the car that we saw? Now, I don't know if this is the car. It doesn't look like the car that caught fire. I mean, it looks like it's in pretty decent shape, but it looks oddly similar to the one, at the very least, that we saw in the last video. And just to, again, to pull it up, like, doesn't that look like the same truck? I wish I could like split screen this, but does it not look the same? Now we'll go back to this. That looks pretty similar to that other vehicle, does it not? Now, later, what we'll see in this video is that, and come to learn from her sisters as well, as he's somebody who likes to fix up cars, work on old cars, etc. So, which makes this whole thing eerily strange, because if you do know so much about cars, as my wife is going to hop on in a couple of minutes to explain about catalytic converters and how this is possible for them to spark a fire, wouldn't you know that, as somebody who's a big car enthusiast and somebody who works on cars regularly, not to park your car on dry grass in the heat?
Behind by the fire, sharing he was cited for it. He told me he just bought a car to fix up and had left it running for a few minutes while he went to get something inside. When he returned, he says the fire was ignited. He did allow me on the property to film the damage. I spoke with a neighbor of his named Charles, who asked us not to.
So he's got a whole bunch of like broken up, beat up car. I mean, like none of these because they're not running. But if the car is running, And on this day when this event allegedly occurred, I looked up the weather report. It was 111 degrees. 111, 112 degrees. So, I don't know how long he would have had to have had his car running for, how old the vehicle was, what kind of vehicle it was, because all of that matters. And again, this is why I'm trying to get my hands on this fire report. I haven't heard back yet from Cal Fire. If I do, I will do another video update on that, but I'm just so
To
curious.
show his face, but shared while his home was safe, many of his neighbors were threatened by the fire.
Everybody's fired up. We know we want immediate justice. We know we want the other case to be solved. There's aggressions behind it, but there is due process. There is things that we have to wait on.
I asked CAL FIRE representatives why this fire resulted in a citation, whereas a fire like the Hidden Fire ended up with an arrest. They share they have to have enough evidence to prove a level of criminal negligence necessary for an arrest, something they say was not.
And like, where was this vehicle? Because they're showing all this. It looks like this is where it was. So where was this vehicle parked up? And like, why wasn't it parked in the driveway? Like, how many cars does he have? All questions that I personally have, and I would love to ask Nikki's siblings if they do know.
Not present in this case.
While no homes were damaged overall in this, or while no homes were seriously damaged in this fire, several outlying buildings, including one family's back house, was totally destroyed. We'll keep you guys updated as we learn more around the impact of this fire. Live in Happy Valley, I'm Max Tedford for the North States News.
But yeah, on the date of this incident, because it was July 2024, according to AccuWeather, 111 degrees, 112 degrees if it was on the 4th. Was it on the 4th or was it on? No, it was on the 3rd. On the 3rd, so 111 degrees in Anderson, California, Olinda Road. It's pretty freaking hot, California hot. But I thought this was interesting because this is another, and this kind of goes into a little bit of what my wife is going to talk about in a second too, but this was like over 8 years ago. This was another catalytic converter heat and grass car fire that actually occurred from a squad vehicle, totally unrelated to this case. I don't know actually where this took place, but they give a pretty good description of. I'm actually curious. Where is California? So another California.
Car thief rams a police.
Another California news station. So they give a lot of really good information about like how this is possible, how this can occur even if the grass is mowed down. So I want to play this really quick just to give us like a deeper context of, whether or not, because I've seen a lot of people say, oh, this is, fake. He just faked it, this, that, and the third. I mean, I think it's possible for him to have ignited it purposely, but I don't think that it was caused any other way. And he faked it to make it seem like it wasn't this. It seems like it was legitly this, but whether or not he did it on purpose, and if it's possible to do something like this on purpose, we'll find out in a few minutes.
Look at this. A grass fire started under a police SUV. We got this picture from the Cowlitz County Sheriff's Office. You can see the deputy running for safety as the flames shoot up from under the vehicle. Now, the picture got us thinking, what might have caused the car to catch fire?
Our Core Harlan is going beyond the headlines to show us why the police car on fire should actually serve as a big warning for you and I.
To see what may have caused fire to engulf a sheriff's SUV in a freeway median over the weekend, we went to automotive expert Don Orange at Hosley Eco Automotive in downtown Vancouver.
This will be our muffler and resonator, which are very close to the ground, okay?
Right.
And those are hot.
Yeah.
This is the catalytic converter.
I learned today when the car is running, that converter can be anywhere from 400 to 1600 degrees. Don says after a long high-speed police chase, that converter would have been more than hot enough to set dry grass on fire, which could...
But again, note that he said during a high-speed car chase. So how fast was that car going? Whereas where Tyler was saying he just left his car running for a few minutes, and this is where I'm kind of calling bullshit, is because From the way he makes it seem as though I had it on the grass for whatever reason, running, fine, you're working on the car, okay. You run in the house for a few minutes, and after just a few minutes' time, it fire. Now, 2 different vehicles completely, which is why I think it's incredibly relevant to know what kind of vehicle he had. How old was the vehicle? Um, Where's the catalytic converter on that specific vehicle? So
Could have in
but this
turn
is
burned
interesting.
back up through the car's engine, setting fire to hoses and fluids and setting the entire vehicle on fire.
And when they first came on, they had problems with them starting fires like at the fairgrounds. It's something that people at the fairgrounds are going to want to be really careful of this year because it is so dry.
There is the growing potential for a car to catch fire at the fairground, parking areas, or any other place where cars are driving through fields of standing grass. I checked with Washington's Department of Transportation today, and they say they mow medians like this freeway median we're in right now at a minimum of once a year. But with weather conditions so dry and everything so hot, even a mowed median has the potential to burn.
When you look at the grass the way that it is, I mean, even when it's just been mowed, any, tossed cigarette, hot engine has the potential to start a fire.
Tossed cigarette. So did Tyler smoke? I mean, it seems like he was doing some kind of methamphetamine, but was he a smoker? Did he light a match to start this fire quicker? Because for me, just having it running for a couple of minutes, even though, yes, it is a risky thing to do, but as somebody who's a car person and who works on cars, specifically looking like older vehicles from what we just saw in the last news report, wouldn't you know, like, hey, this probably isn't a good idea. Let me shut the car off. Let me let it cool down, or let me move the car into the street just so it can kind of cool down, maybe get it in the shade or something. That's just the questions that I would have. But just a flick of a cigarette, if the engine's already, if the catalytic converter's already hot, the engine's been running for a while, the car's been running for a while.
I learned the state maintenance workers cutting down brush along Padden Parkway do carry fire suppression equipment on their trucks, and they will stop work if fire danger becomes too high.
So interesting. Now, again, this is Vancouver, where I have heard it's pretty common that they get a lot of wildfires. And in Reading specifically, as we'll hear from Nikki's sisters, that they just had as soon as the interview that they recently did on the Pascal show, I think a week ago, and if you look on Google Maps as well too, in that area, there are fires that are happening. So it does happen pretty frequently. But again, the question is whether or not he did it on purpose. And if so, why did he do it on purpose? Was that the same vehicle? And remember too, from our report yesterday, that the Chevy Avalanche that Nikki was allegedly driving, that was found absolutely nowhere near anything in this completely desolate remote area about an hour, 45 minutes away from her house in Happy Valley, that this was a vehicle Tyler had recently bought her, even though she already had a vehicle. Interesting. Interesting. So now I want to bring in my dearly beloved. I'm going to pull up the same clip that we did. So just bear with me for 1 second. I'll pull her in. I'll give her the mic just because we don't have a lot of space over here. And I'll probably step out of frame or share a seat with her, ask her some questions, and I'll let her explain and kind of react to this video just so she can, again, as somebody who used to work on old vehicles, our first car that we shared together was a 95 or 97, something like that, Chevy Tahoe, which like we couldn't get to start half the time, and I used to have to open up the hood and start banging on not the starter, but I had to bang on it to get it going, get it started. Wild times back then. But I'm gonna pull her in now and have her watch this clip and explain just what all of this means in easy terminology. Even if you aren't a car person, you can understand. So now I have my wife. Say hi, wife.
Hi, wife.
Who's going to react to the video clip that we just did of the Olinda fire citation that Michael McCain, Jesus Christ, Tyler McCain was cited for starting last month. I just want to get her thoughts and opinions because she has been literally working on cars pretty much her entire adult life. So if anybody would know about this stuff, it would definitely be her. So I want to hear your thoughts on this, and like ask me if you need me to stop, pause. I can do whatever you need to. Okay.
Okay.
Evacuated and hundreds of acres burned. The North States News' Max Tedford is live out at the property where it started. Max, what did you learn today?
Well, Glenn, we now know that the fire was started here by a car left running at this property on Olinda Road. And we now have confirmed that both the car that caused the fire and this property are owned by Tyler McCain, husband of the missing Nikki McCain.
McCain approached me today while I was filming the damage left behind by the fire, sharing he was cited for it. He told me he just bought a car to fix up and had left it running for a few minutes while he went to get something inside. When he returned, he says the fire was ignited. He did allow me on the property to film the damage. I spoke with a neighbor of his named Charles, who asked us not to show his face, but shared while his home was safe, many of his neighbors were threatened by the fire.
Everybody's fired up. We know we want immediate justice. We know we want the other case to be solved. There's aggressions behind it, but there is due process. There is things that we have to wait on.
I asked CAL FIRE representatives why this fire resulted in a citation, whereas a fire like the Hidden Fire ended up with an arrest. They share they have to have enough evidence to prove a level of criminal negligence necessary for an arrest, something they say was not present in this case.
While no homes were damaged overall while no homes were seriously damaged in this fire, several outlying buildings, including one family's back house, was totally destroyed. We'll keep you guys updated as we learn more around the impact of this fire. Live in Happy Valley, I'm Max Tedford for the North States News.
So there we have it. I can tell from your facial expressions without even looking that you had thoughts. And before you go into your thoughts, I looked up the weather. I couldn't find like anything about the grass conditions because I know when we were talking about it yesterday, you had mentioned like it depends on like how dry is the grass. When I looked up the temperatures of that day, it was July 3rd. So day before 4th of July here in the States, it looked like the high point was 111 degrees. And we're in California, we're in like the mountainous areas where a lot of brush fires happen. So I'm just curious, again, from your knowledge and working on cars, especially older vehicles, you saw the shot of them looking at all the different vehicles that this guy owns. And apparently his thing is like to buy fixer-upper cars. He likes to buy old vehicles, I guess fix them up, do whatever with them. I don't know if he sells them, whatever. Project cars that look pretty much old to me. I don't know if they looked old to you, but what do you observe and like what do you think about all that?
So from what I saw, the grass was dry. It looked like deadish, and it was high in the burned spot. I don't know if you can go back to that and refer to it, but it looked pretty high. A car starting a fire in the grass it's not super likely. The other day you brought up the catalytic converter.
Yeah.
Where did you get that from?
Well, so in the fire report, they said, I guess not in this specific news report, but in some of the articles and in the fire report itself, it said that the cause for the fire being sparked was due to the catalytic converter.
The fire report said that?
Yes.
Did somebody tell them that and they put it in the report?
I don't know. So according from the report we just watched, he said, and this is what he told the fire department, I imagine. Hey, I don't know how this started, but I went into the house for a few minutes. I came back outside after leaving the car running for a few minutes.
And it was on fire.
And it was on fire. Now, before I just played a different clip, I can see if I can find it again, this was in Vancouver, of a police squad car. After doing a high-speed chase, parked on the median of the road with tall, high grass.
And it started a fire. Something like that is a lot more likely, being that the car was in a high-speed chase, the engine's hotter, the exhaust going through the engine into the cat is hotter. Naturally, the cat would heat up. And if you're parked in high grass, it's going to spark something, especially if it's dry or if, like I said, the grass is high. It's going to start something. But in the case of this guy, there's a lot of factors. You really have to know what kind of car it was, what the condition of the car was.
Why does that matter, though?
The condition of the car?
The condition and the make of the car. And
so if it's an older car, it's obviously going to be in lesser condition. Like it's going to be in a worse condition. And the heat shield on the cat could rust off, so it's just raw. It's just raw cat, raw heated metal.
Sorry to slow you down, just so like for the car dummies like me out there, what's a heat shield?
So a heat shield is it's an insulated piece of metal that goes over the catalytic converter to kind of protect anything around it from bursting. Because around the catalytic converter are like fuel lines and other important combustible lines that it protects itself from. Kind of like how your gas tank is kind of lined with plastic on the bottom to, if it's leaking and gas leaks out, it's going to leak onto that plastic cover rather than onto a hot exhaust pipe and explode.
And is the catalytic converter, well, for like backtrack, so I have a couple of questions to ask you that I didn't ask you the other day, but what is the purpose of the catalytic converter? How hot, or like approximately how hot? Because on the other video we just saw, the shop owner that I guess they were interviewing for the piece said in terms of the squad car vehicle, it got up to like 460 degrees or something like that. So does that seem accurate? Does it change from car to car? Again, what's the purpose of the catalytic converter?
On the police car, it does seem accurate. Being that, like I said, the car was in a high-speed chase. The car was working harder. The engine was working harder. The combustion was hotter. It was just going harder. So naturally, everything coming out into the cat, into the exhaust, is going to be hotter. The purpose of a cat is it filters the exhaust coming out a little bit more. You know how like when people would cut their catalytic converters out of their car and their car would sound louder?
Oh my god, like those,
like the
people,
Honda
like the
Civics.
guy, yeah, the people. Oh my god, the Honda Civics back at home.
Yeah. Or like people would go around cutting out other people's catalytic converters.
So that's what you meant by that. Okay, got it.
People would do that because there's gold in them to help with the filtration process. And they would take that and they would pawn the gold from it to get money to do whatever it is that they were going to do.
Got it.
So
catalytic converter helps with filtration with the exhaust. So that would be why it would get hot. And also too, because going back to my previous question, is the catalytic converter always in the same place for every vehicle, no matter what kind of make, model, year?
It's in the same area. Yeah.
Okay. So where like on, because it looked like it was on like the right passenger side from what I could see in that last video. Is that accurate? Or
most of the cars that I've seen, the catalytic converter is generally right behind the engine. So if you have the engine maybe here, the back of the engine would be here. The cat would be kind of like here.
Okay.
So it's got like pipes coming off of it. Then you also have the transmission. So yeah, it could be on the right.
Okay.
By the passenger side, or that would be the right. Yeah.
Yeah, the right passenger side. Yeah. The right that's redundant. Yes, the passenger side. Passenger side. Well, it could be, it could not be, but in the States, yeah, where we're driving, driver's side is on the left side, not the right side. So okay, cool. So then going into like this specific incident with the vehicle, like how easy, because again, I saw you making facial expressions, like how possible would it be for him to go into the house for only just a few moments, leaving it running? Does it matter if he had it running for a while, if it's possible?
There is a lot of factors into that. It really depends on how long the car was running before, where he took the car before, how hard he was running the car. kind of like in the case with the cop chasing somebody.
Okay.
That cop is foot to the ground.
Yeah,
right?
going over like 100 miles an hour.
Right. So what is this guy doing with the truck? Is he leisurely driving it, or is he driving recklessly? What are you doing with it?
It sounds, for me, from what I gather, and I don't know if this is how you interpreted it, but it sounded almost like he bought it as a car to fix, and he was working on it. Which I know when you've worked on cars in the past, like you're constantly like, okay, let me try and start it. Okay, cool. Let me take a listen for a couple minutes. Okay, let me turn it off. But you're not like letting it run.
No, I'm not going to let it run while I go inside and get my tools, because it's like when I have to come back out and work on the car, I don't want it to be hot. I don't want to burn myself.
Right, because you're going back under there.
Because I'm going back under it and I'm going to start touching things and I don't want to burn myself.
Got it.
So that's a big factor in it. Another is the temperature. You told me it was 110 degrees. So that does have a lot to do with it. And in the video, the grass did look brownish. So drier grass would obviously combust a little bit easier. Not combust, but ignite easier. And I said this to you the other day, you really have to think about like when we would go on road trips.
Yeah.
And then we would park our car on grass because we'd be camping and, we park on the grass. We'd leave it running because we'd had to like charge something or whatever.
Yeah, we had a portable converter that we would use to charge like our phone, or if it was late at night and we were trying to set up our tent so we could get some lights going and stuff like that. Yeah, no, and that made me think too. But granted, the vehicle we were driving was a Toyota Camry.
Right.
That was a 2000.
Yeah, but it also wasn't in the best condition ever.
True.
We did drive it, 3, 4, maybe 5 hours straight.
True.
So
True.
It is the equivalent of being hot.
True. No, that's interesting. So then I guess, in your opinion, not that you're an expert.
I am not an expert.
But to put that blanket statement out there, people, because I know there are going to be people coming at me in the comment section. We are not saying we are experts, but she is somebody who has worked on cars extensively, specifically older cars.
I am a backyard mechanic. I am not a registered mechanic. I am not a licensed mechanic. I am a backyard mechanic.
Backyard mechanic who's worked on a handful of vehicles that are older than 2000.
Way older.
Way older than 2000. So I guess what is the likelihood that, what would the vehicle most likely have to be? Like the condition, like you said, like poor condition, but something like really old for this to make any remote sense? Do you think it's possible that he could have flicked a cigarette or something and started it on purpose?
I do think it's possible that he could have flicked a cigarette and started on purpose. I don't really see, especially if he's saying he bought it and drove it home and then left it running to go inside. I don't see the car starting any sort of fire. I think my opinion, again, I'm not an expert. I'm not an investigator or whatever. My opinion is that he maybe did flick a cigarette and under the car. Maybe he didn't do it intentionally. Maybe he did. Maybe he's trying to get rid of some sort of evidence. I don't know. But leaving your car on your lawn, especially in like high grass, driving it from, maybe like for an hour and then coming home. I don't know how far he was driving, but as an example.
Did he say that he was driving? Because I don't know if I caught that, or that's kind of your inference based on what he was describing.
That sounds like what he was describing. He said he picked it up, came home, left it running, and then
for a few minutes
went inside.
Yeah.
So wherever he was driving or however long he was driving for, it's not enough time to spark a fire under the grass. And who knows if the grass was even high enough. It looked like it was high in one area, but who knows if it was high in that area that he parked. And even if it was high, the grass didn't look dead enough to just go right up.
Now, in terms of damage, I only have like a couple more questions and then I'll let you
go.
Good. But in terms of like the vehicle, so they kept showing like that vehicle that he was in when he stepped out. And it looks remarkably similar to a different vehicle because he recently got arrested like 6 days ago for something completely unrelated. He got suspended. His license got suspended. So not that, again, you're an expert, but and I don't know if you would know this, but do you think that would be a reason for him, if he gets hit with the citation, for his license to be suspended? Or would that not be related at all since it's related to his car?
A reason for him to burn his car?
No, for him to have like a suspended license.
No.
No, it wouldn't have like anything, like you don't get points on your license for doing anything like that to your
For
vehicle.
burning your car?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Because I was curious, because I was like, why does he have a suspended license? How long? So like kind of related, but not related. But it looks like the same vehicle. So I'm curious what kind of damage could be done to a vehicle that sparks a fire from the catalytic converter.
Well, if a fire is under your car, like I said, there are plenty of fuel lines in the area. You have the transmission that's there. Not that transmission fluid is flammable, but you have plenty of igniters there. Depending on where the fire starts and where it spreads. If it spreads towards the back where the gas tank is, it can burn through that plastic protective skin and get into the gas tank, and then kaboom.
And like explode the car?
Explode, yeah.
So like no more car.
No, there would still be car there.
There would still be. Would it be recoverable?
No.
Okay.
No.
Got it. So interesting to me, and that's why I wanted to bring you back on, because I was asking her these questions the other day, and I'm like, I feel like that this is something you would know about and something that you'd be able to talk about. So I'm really happy that you hopped on with me, my first official guest, guys, my wife. And if you thought this was interesting too, I know we have more show to go through, but I wanted to stop and get her thoughts on this. So thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
sharing your knowledge with us.
Again, I'm not an expert, so don't
No.
be in the comments saying that's not what the cat does. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, she's not an expert. We're not claiming to be experts, but as somebody who's worked on a number of cars herself, especially older cars, which seemingly it looks like Tyler is also interested in. And I guess this just one last final question. As somebody who works on cars like you, and even at the same capacity as our friend Jimmy, I wouldn't even say Nick, because Nick really doesn't work on his cars, but say Jimmy, or even Jimmy's dad, somebody who's incredibly knowledgeable about stuff like that. Do you think that somebody who does this often, buys old cars, likes to work on them, would know not to leave their car running on the grass?
Yeah.
And if they did know that, they know the ramifications that could happen.
Yeah, but there's also like I know not to leave my car running on the grass, but like if I'm in a rush, I'm gonna park on the grass, run inside, and come back out. I'm not gonna think anything of it.
It's a good point. That's a good point.
So I mean, it's like you got to play the life factors in there as well. What was going through his mind when he went inside?
Yeah.
What was he planning on doing when he came back outside?
Yeah. What was he working on his vehicle? Was he running, like you said, was he going anywhere? Was he going to his mom's house? And I know that's where more of like speculation brain goes in, because everybody's like, hey, he's getting rid of evidence. And I mean, with the series of events that have occurred since then, he's been pretty tight-lipped on just on when he last spoke to Nikki, what he knows, what he doesn't know. He hasn't said anything since his case has been dismissed. Back, I think last month it was dismissed. So it is interesting. It seems a little fishy. He also hasn't been actively helping in searching for her. So that's always a little bit sus and kind of Scott Peterson-esque, and Brian Laundrie-esque, but that's my opinion. So thank you again for hopping on.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I will see you in a little bit.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, so that was fun. First time guests got to test it out, right? So hope you guys thought that was interesting. But okay, so now that we've gone through the Olinda fire that occurred, I want to get back into this article, and this is essentially where we left off in yesterday's video. And I want to play a little bit more of the, I might have, no, I didn't. Why can't I find this? News Cafe. There we go. Yeah, I want to pick up where we left off. So I want to get back into a little bit more about the Redding Rancheria. I want to hear from Nikki's sisters, Chloe and Kay, who have been pretty much at the forefront for starting all the searches and protests as well at Tyler's case, at Tyler's courthouse hearings. So I want to get into that now, spend the next few moments going through the rest of this article, and then we will wrap things up, because again, there's not a ton of information on this case, but what we do know is wildly fascinating. So where we left off, again, just to refresh your brains, this is where Nikki's car was ultimately found, even though it's really confusing as to how her car even got involved in the first place, too. If there was another driver, there were another two drivers. We just don't know. All we know is that she dropped the mother-in-law off. She allegedly went somewhere else. We don't know where she went. I mean, it seemed like she was going home. My question is, why would she need to go home? Was she picking up the kids? Did she need to pick up Tyler? And then Tyler was going to go back to the mother's house so they could drop off the car. And then from there, they were going to, or was Tyler going to meet her at the mother in law's house and she was going to go pick up the kids? It's just so unclear and there's not enough information. But that is last where we left off. And then Nikki and Tyler's home is in the Happy Valley area. So again, that's like 45 minutes to an hour away. And this is where Mercy Medical Center in Reading is, which is also, I looked it up from Olinda Road, is like a few hours, it seems like, from, and like, again, just it's like 4.5 hours from Mercy Medical Center. So that's quite some ways. And that was ultimately the hospital that the incident report was filed in. So continuing on, so what is the Reading Rancheria connection? What is the Reading Rancheria and what are their connections to it? So Nikki's mother-in-law, Jeanette McCain, who says she doesn't remember what happened, is an enrolled member of the Reading Rancheria tribe. Jeanette's father, Orville Hayward, who passed away in 2012 at the age of 69, was employed as the facilities manager at Wind River Casino until he retired in 2002. Hayward was considered a Wintu and Reading Rancheria tribal elder before passing away. So those are pretty deep ties. If you know anything about Native American culture, they have a tribal council. So that's pretty high up in the rankings in regards to this particular tribe, this particular community. So it's a big freaking deal. But Nikki worked as a cocktail waitress at the Wind River Casino up until a few years ago, and some of her family members have also worked at the casino. The Reading Rancheria issued a press release stating that it is supporting all efforts to locate Nikki and has offered a reward for up to 10 grand. Now it's been bumped up to 30. So if you guys know anything, remember to call that number I'm going to share in the description box below, as well as at the end of the video. Regarding Nikki's whereabouts, the Reading Rancheria is in communication with the SCSO and NorCal Alliance for the Missing People to help find Nikki. So this was something interesting that came out, and then we'll go into that interview from the Pascal show. This was posted by this Twitter account, I Am Legacy, from a different show, I believe, where they say that there are cameras above the streetlights, which we know there are cameras at the Wind River Casino on every direction coming in or out of Reading Rancheria, Wind River Casino. And remember, Jeanette McCain, Nikki's mother-in-law, lives, as we come to learn, like 2 doors down from the Wind River Casino. Now, how lengthy those doors are, we don't know. But the way it is explained, it seems like she was pretty freaking close. And regardless of whether she was coming and going, that should have been caught on some sort of surveillance camera, if not on anybody's ring camera footage too, right? These videos can shed light on several important aspects. One, it can confirm if, in fact, Nikki was in that area in the early morning of May 18th. Because remember, that last text message was received by Chloe, her sister, at around 12:35 a.m. On the 18th. They also can confirm if she left the area in her truck or in another vehicle. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Was she driving the Chevy Avalanche? We have the license plate number, and I will share that again in that photo at the end of this video. That can be positively identified. Possibly, who can they also identify from it? The police have been very close-knit, close to the vest on all of this. So we don't know. Maybe they know. Maybe they don't know. And it's something similar like the Rachel Moran case. And they just found, after like years of not knowing who this guy was, they only had that one weird ring camera footage of that guy leaving the house. That was it, the hand in the door. So, and now they have somebody in custody who's set to go to trial. So, I mean, this is just, it might take a bit, but the police might have more than what we think. Lastly, video footage will reveal in which direction Nikki left. So this is a 2-minute video. You guys let me know if you can see the surveillance cameras. I mean, I believe it. I'm just having a hard time spotting it. Like, this is the road itself. I don't know if they're trying to show the surveillance or what the surveillance. Okay, up there. So there's one. What they would have caught. I mean, they would have seen if she was coming or going. That's another one. Again, it's a little hard to see. Canyon Road. So this is the two-way street. Like, she didn't have, remember, she didn't have really anywhere else that she could have potentially went. So I guess this is now from just the road perspective, not the other surveillance. So I got a little confused before. So and apparently they've been extremely cooperative with handing over the surveillance video. What's on those surveillance videos? I mean, hopefully if we do find out, it's for a good reason, not bad reason. Hopefully if it does come out, it's because we find her and we find her safe and healthy. But I mean, yeah, that's pretty wild. So that gives you a little bit more light into that area, that road that Nikki's sisters were referring to. So now I want to get into the rest of this interview with Pascal on the Pascal Show. And please give him a subscription, a like, a follow, all of that. This is a really, really well thought out interview. He did a really good job, I think, of asking some of the questions that we all are having.
Showing her actually operating this car or driving in that direction at all?
We have not. Jeanette does live by the Wind River Casino on the Redding Rancheria. So I know that there are cameras that capture all the cars coming in and out of those, the Rancheria. And my understanding is that the Rancheria has been cooperative and submitted those videos to law enforcement, but we ourselves have not seen any footage.
Interesting. So the Rancheria, you said?
Yes, the Redding Rancheria.
Ready Rancheria. So can you explain to me what that organization is, or what is the Redding Rancheria is exactly, and so everyone understands?
The Redding Rancheria is a Native American tribe in our area. The Wind River Casino is on that property, so it is one of the operations that are ran under the Redding Rancheria, and Tyler's family is part of that tribe, the Redding Rancheria tribe, through I believe his grandpa or great grandpa is one of the original distributees of that rancheria.
Okay, so Tyler's family owns the casino, and they are part of this particular tribe, correct?
Yes, essentially, yes.
Okay,
okay, so Tyler's family owns the casino. According to her sisters, Tyler's family owns the casino. And again, just referring back to our news article here from what's been reported, it is his grandfather who was employed as the facilities manager at Wind River until he retired. He was also the a tribal elder as well too. He played an important role in the opening of. So, uh, I mean, according to them, they owned it. Whether they owned it or not, it seems like they had some sort of hand in getting it going. So, this is the website for Reading Rancheria, just so we can get a little bit more understanding of what exactly it is. And how it was founded. So, just to give you more clarity on it, Reading Rancheria is a sovereign nation where pride in tribal culture, history, and identity is evident internally and in the larger community. We are a leader in the development of our people within our traditional homelands. The strength of our tribe lies in honoring our elders, building healthy families, and promoting self reliance in our members. We invest in our youth and adults, knowing that they will create the future with the strength of our ancestors. We empower them with knowledge and skills for a changing world. We lead by example in community development, diversity, provide a secure future for the tribe, and contribute to a vibrant economy. We preserve and celebrate our culture and live the traditions of our ancestors while building a brighter world for generations to come. So, tribal governments, so this is interesting too, because we kind of see how like everything's kind of broken down. As a sovereign nation, Reading Rancheria's organizational structure begins with the general membership, which includes all adult tribal members and is responsible for establishing broad tribal priorities. The tribal council is an elected body of 7 voting members and 3 alternates that is responsible for giving policy direction to the various governmental and business units of the tribe. Now, again, remember, because this is a sovereign nation, because this is a tribal community, this is why Nikki's family and their supporters have had a hard time with getting the right to properly search, conduct searches on this land, because again, it's tribal land. So, which also makes it increasingly frustrating and difficult. And as we've heard in a lot of cases where there's even missing native women, or any kind of missing women that go missing on these tribal lands, a lot of it has to do with how the laws in the jurisdiction, there not being jurisdiction for outside parties, for the police department, because they have to go through the tribal council. The tribal council is an elected body of 7 voting members and 3 alternates that is responsible for giving policy direction to the various governmental and business units of the tribe. The chart below graphically represents the organization. So we start up here with the general membership, then the tribal council. So that's the 7 folks, and then the 3 alternates. And then below that is the tribal government. There's the gaming commission, the tribal court, the Wind River Resort and Casino. So Tyler's family is pretty much right up here. And then with grandpa being an elder, he'd be up here. So as to my understanding. Interesting. Tribal council. Our tribal council has sworn that they will uphold and defend the Constitution, sovereignty, and traditions of the Reading Rancheria tribe, and will faithfully perform the duties of their office in an ethical manner. Fairness, honesty, and integrity. They will devote their best efforts to promote and protect the best interest of the Reading Rancheria tribe. So these are the members. I wonder if they have... Oh, Hayward. Where did we just see that name? Vice Chairman Hayward. Where did we just see that name? Orville Hayward. So Jeanette McCain, because that's her married name. Her father, Orville Hayward, who is a tribal elder, passed away recently. Or not recently, over 10 years ago. Gosh, I'm like Sometimes I can't believe how old I am. It's insane. We got 2 Haywards on the council. Once is a vice chairman. And then the other one, oh, we got 3. We got 2 alternates. Michelle Hayward and a Tony Hayward Sr. Left to right. So this is the Tony guy. Tony Hayward Sr. 1, 2, 3. So is this Jason Hayward Jr.? I'm assuming so, right? Yep, because this is Tony, Don, Leon, and Jason. Yep, this is Jason Hayward. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then on the very end here is Michelle Hayward. So the Hayward fam. Interesting. So there we have it. So that is the Reading Rancheria. I ain't got no crystal ball. Okay, anyways. So now back to this interview. So now we know, yeah, they not only was his grandpapa a tribal elder, but his mom lives 2 doors down, was the daughter of a tribal elder. Family also was part of the groundbreaking opening of this casino. And then there are 3 other Haywards, so 3 other on mom's side, that are on the tribal council. Interesting. This is why we like doing digging, guys. This is why we do it.
Does he make money from the casino, or he just happens to be, related?
I believe there are some distributions to the tribal members, and I believe that some of those profits come from the casino.
I see. Okay. Okay, so she drops Jeanette, right, back to her home. Are any surveillance cameras on her home or in her area, her neighborhood, her house?
So with the casino, she does live right kind of next door, and there's only one way and one way out. So, but I do remember just from being over there before that, I know that she does have a Ring camera. Maybe it's not a Ring camera, but I know there's a type of camera near her front door.
Okay, so Jeanette has a Ring camera, according to Chloe. Okay, so hopefully we see that Ring camera footage, because remember the Commonwealth said that they had Ring camera footage for days in the Karen Reed case, and they were going to close this stuff down. They were going to shut it down, and it never came to be because there is no Ring camera footage. So I wonder if the same thing is going to happen in this case, and I hope certainly not. I hope we never have to even see the Ring camera footage, because I hope that Nikki is found safe and sound. But I mean, as more time passes,
I see. And so I guess the burning question I have is, have you seen any of this surveillance? Like, have you gotten your hands on that at all? Just out of curiosity. No. Have you
no, they haven't requested it.
I guess we just
anything seems about here. So maybe now off Hayward. She was dropping her off, dropping Jeanette Hayward off. Hayward's right. So I'm curious about that. It was her car that she was driving. Like, it was actually Nikki's car that was driving Jeanette back to her home, correct?
It was Jeanette's car that they were driving. So they drove, Nikki was driving Jeanette's car to Jeanette's house. And then, and I think dropped Jeanette off at her house, and then took Jeanette's vehicle back home. And then later on that night, took Jeanette's car back to Jeanette's house.
So here's what I'm thinking. It seems like, because why else would Nikki need her car or not have had her car, is only if Nikki's car was at Jeanette's house. This is what I'm piecing together, and what makes the most sense to me is, and I'm not saying it's true, it's just speculation, but Nikki gets this emergency text call, whatever, that Brian's in the hospital, brother to Tyler McCain. Okay, cool. She rushes over to Jeanette's house. Maybe Tyler's like, hey, can you pick up my mom? Yeah, sure, no problem. Goes to pick up mom with, and I guess for whatever reason would then use Jeanette's car instead of her car, or I'm just so confused. Unless she didn't have her car, access to her car, because that, even then, that still doesn't make sense to me. Like, why not just take your, unless Jeanette was like, no, I'll probably just drive myself home, and maybe she was so upset and distraught from whatever happened to Brian that Nikki was like, don't worry, like, I'll drive you, and I'll just pick up my car from your house later. I don't know. It's just, it's a little confusing to me. Like, why wouldn't Nikki just be driving her own car? Why did she even need to use Jeanette's car? Was her car in the shop? I don't know. Was it not working? Did Tyler have her car?
To drop that off to her.
I see. Okay. So when she left, when she dropped off Jeanette, she jumped in her own car and then drove home, correct?
We don't know, because her car, we assume, would be at her house at this point. So we don't know where her car was.
So I guess the burning question is then, what is this truck that was found on the side of the road out by the mountain area? Let me show you guys the truck. So then what is this then? Is this the car that she was actually driving when she went missing?
We don't know if she was driving that car or not. We do know that was her vehicle. Tyler had bought her that vehicle a couple weeks prior to her going missing. So that's why we were wondering where the vehicle was when we had figured out we hadn't talked to her in a while and that she was missing. And we figured the key would be to find her vehicle. So that's when we started asking questions about the truck.
I see. But this is the car that was found on the side of the road, correct?
Yes.
And from what we understand, she was operating this very vehicle before she disappeared.
Yeah, and then in the 2 weeks before, yes.
Okay. So why was she driving this car? Do we know any reason why she was driving this car 2 weeks before and when she went missing here?
You know what? No, because she already had a vehicle, and so it was just gifted to her by her husband, but she already had a car, so maybe it was just another extra gift for her. I don't know, but she already had.
Okay, so
she already had a car. He buys her this vehicle as a gift, which, again, how many times have we seen this, folks, where, I don't know, maybe Tyler had another violent outburst and this was his way of making things up to her, but you buy her a 2002 Chevy Avalanche, like, we know that you like to buy old cars. 2002 is old. It's an old car. I mean, it looks nice. Like, it doesn't look like it looks like it's in good condition. But 2002 is 22 years old. That's an old car. So that's interesting. I don't know if there was anything nefarious behind him buying her a separate vehicle, even though, as Chloe just pointed out, Nikki already had her own car. So I don't know if this was him saying, maybe they talked about getting a bigger truck. I don't know what other vehicle she owned. It seemed like Tyler was really into cars. Was this another one of his projects that he was working on? I don't know, but it's strange timing. 2 weeks before she goes missing, he's like, hey, babe, here's a new old truck.
Photo that I'm seeing right here, okay? This is not obviously where her car was found. This is not like a photo of like this car that she was last driving was found here. This is the actual backyard of the McCain's home.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So they have multiple cars, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, but this is the car that she was operating when she disappeared. And that was the car, this very car was found on the side of the road near like a wooded area, right? I just want to make sure I'm making that abundantly clear, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I just want to make sure. Okay. So she may have had two cars. Okay. So she texts you, Chloe, and said, hey, okay, I'm dropping Jeanette back home. Now, here's the thing. Has Jeanette been questioned? Because she literally is the last person to see Nikki alive. So has she been
potentially
interviewed, interrogated, searched, any of that sort?
As far as being interviewed, we can't, I mean, we're not 100% sure if she's been interviewed. We heard that she has been, just from family and friends. And as far as searches, there was a raid on the property about a month or so ago, maybe a little bit longer now.
Okay.
But there was a raid at Jeanette's house and some other properties nearby.
Okay.
There was a raid at Jeanette's house, not to be confused, but it's interesting. So over a month ago, or just about a month ago now, Tyler's home, or not home, but Tyler's car, as we just talked about for 20 minutes, set fire. So at his house on Olinda Road, not at this location because they didn't live together. However, I think it's interesting. So why was her house raided, or why was her property raided? I don't know. Is there a methamphetamine problem in this community where a raiding, was it drug related? I'd be curious. I don't know. Was this even reported? So, I mean, according to this Facebook post, there's not much. I'm assuming this is where they got it from. I'm not logged in my Facebook right now, but at Reading Rancheria, SCSO office has a house that Nikki was last app blocked off. Looks like a search. Media is present. But where's the media? Where's the reports on it? I'm just not. Suspect arrested for drug possession. This is in April in Reading. Lake Boulevard. I mean, I don't know. There's media there where, I mean, oh, maybe this is it? Hold on. Let's see. Reading police make multiple arrests. Seize drugs during undercover operation. Reading, California. Reading Police Department, RPD, conducted an undercover operation Friday. So this is June 29. So that would be in the timeline that Kay was just talking about. To address community complaints regarding thefts and drug use around businesses and hotels in East Reading. So yeah, I think, right? Officers conducted the operation at Cypress Point Shopping Center at East Cypress Avenue and Churn Creek Road. Police say officers witnessed one theft and arrested the suspect. 5 more arrests were made in the same shopping center. No. At a nearby hotel. They conducted 3 probation tests, during which 4 people were arrested. 2 citations were issued, and about half an ounce of methamphetamine was seized. So I guess there is a methamphetamine crisis going on in Reading. I mean, it's so funny. They're like, there's media, but where's the media? I don't see anything. I see nothing. This is why I'm saying this stuff is just grossly underreported. Like, even if there is a raid, why isn't that? Wanted man caught with meth during downtown Reading business check. I mean, it seems totally possible. That's what I'm just speculating, but I don't see anything. If you guys can find any news articles related to that alleged police raid, I can only imagine it was probably some kind of drug bust. And it, according to the reports that we read yesterday, it seems like Tyler, at least according to Nikki, that he had used meth in the past. So maybe that's what that was related to.
And some other properties nearby. I mean, so Jeanette's home was raided. Okay. So what are these other properties that were like searched and raided nearby?
And we weren't there. We weren't there, but what we had heard from the news and people who were there is that Jeanette's house, along with Jeanette's mom, Tyler's grandma, Sandy's house, Sandy Hayward, and Tyler's cousin, Larry Foltz's home was also raided, and he too lives across the street.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know that. Now, and we're going to talk about Tyler in a minute, so don't you worry about a thing. But I am kind of curious about there's these other properties. She went missing. This truck was found on the side of the road. This must be her secondary, maybe her, this is the car she takes to go with the kids or something like that, right? Anybody else see her that night? Anybody else claim any eyewitnesses of any sort saying, oh, we saw her doing X, Y, and Z at this gas station? Have there been any other eyewitnesses or any accounts from anybody else?
Not that we know of. At one point, one of the people who live on Tyler's property, I don't know if he himself said so or Tyler had said that one of his friends had given her a ride home back to their house.
And that's it? Just a ride home?
Mm-hmm.
Same night?
Correct.
And this was before or after Jeanette?
Yes, what they're saying, it was after that he had this Justin is his name. They had said he was one who gave Nikki a ride back home to their house.
So according to Kay, there was another person who this sounds like the OJ case, right? With the tenant that was living who also was murdered by OJ. He's dead now, so yeah. Like we know what happened. We know what happened to OJ. But anyways, now this is giving me like OJ vibes. So there was another person, friend, I guess, of them or of Tyler's, lived on the property. I mean, we just saw the property. It seemed like they had quite a bit of land. I guess he lived in a back house or something like that. And he gave Nikki a ride home. So was he at the hospital? I mean, like how I'm assuming the police hopefully have done their due diligence and went to the hospital, verified that Brian was in the hospital. I mean, I think it's fair to say he was, because at least according to Kay and Chloe, they believe that Nikki was the one who was texting them. It wasn't somebody like, oh, it seemed weird or off, like the Gabby Petito case where the parents were getting these strange sounding text messages from Gabby, but it was really probably Brian doing the texting after that happened. But I would be curious if they asked, okay, well, who was at the hospital? Is there like a sign-in sheet that you have to scan in to get a visitor pass? I mean, I feel like this would all be pretty easy to verify, but I don't know. I don't know if these questions were asked, but these are the questions I would ask. Or like, did he go to the mother's house to pick her up? Because that's just bizarre to me, because then how did she get to the mother's house to begin with, or to the hospital? Rather, did somebody else take her? Did Justin take her to the hospital? It sounded like she drove to the mom's house, picked her up, they went together, and then she dropped her off at the mother-in-law's house and then went back home. We're just all speculating here, but because none of this makes sense, and then went back to drop the mother-in-law's car off. It is so bizarre to me.
After dropping off Jeanette.
So this Justin person is the last person to see her.
Potentially, that's one of the explanations that we were given by them.
Interesting. Okay. I'm just trying to piece this all together so I understand it a little bit better. All right. So Justin is friends of who?
Tyler.
Okay. So then let's talk about Tyler. So I'm kind of curious about this because I know from what I understand in December of 2023, Nikki walked into a police precinct covered in bruises, obviously in bad shape. And she made claims that Tyler, her husband, attacked her viciously in ways that I can't even say here on the show. But enough for her to get him charged with multiple felony DV charges. Now, they were supposed to go into a trial a couple months ago. And that did not happen because, well, Nikki is gone. So I do want to share this. And I know you guys have seen it because you guys are the ones who have made the video. A lot of you guys showed up in front of the courthouse representing for Nikki, asking for justice, asking for clarification, for truth. And this video came out. Let me share this with you guys.
No justice. So before we get into that, I want to continue with our news article, just to kind of set the scene a little bit up, because this is a pretty interesting video. It gives another inside look into Tyler's character, and again, it gives a lot of Scott Peterson vibes for me. So now we jump ahead. This is after he's been arrested for the December incident. 5 firearms were found inside the bedroom area. One was an AK-47 style rifle that was stolen out of Oregon. He posts bail, gets released from jail, and then he's awaiting this trial. So then on May 7th, he pleads not guilty. Nikki goes missing. May 7th, 2024, during a hearing inside the Shasta County Superior Court building, Tyler pleaded not guilty to the DV charges, related felony charges leveled against him. Nikki reportedly told her sister Chloe Saley in a text message dated May 7, the same day as the court hearing, that she was preparing to file for divorce to end her marriage with Tyler. Okay. Nikki went missing on May 18, 10 days later, or just 11 days. 11 days after May 7, the May 7 domestic v. hearing. On June 28, more than 1 month after Nikki went missing, Shasta County Superior Court Judge Daniel Flynn decided to continue the DV violence hearing until July 5. So they continued it. So that's right. So they continued it. See if we could find her before dismissing the case completely, to give the prosecution more time to find Nikki or secure additional evidence to support the felony charges against Tyler, see if they could try him anyways. Ultimately, I think they made the right call because, again, if we do find her, hopefully safe and sound, she can get the proper justice that she deserves and probably lock him up for a heck of a lot longer if he has something to do with her disappearance. On June 28th, approximately 80 people rallied outside the Shasta County Superior Court building to show support for Nikki. Many carried posters that said "Justice for Nikki." At one moment, the crowd chanted "No justice, no peace" if Tyler's on the streets. In a video recorded by Chloe Saley, so that we're going to play this in a second, that has been widely circulated on social media, Tyler is seen flipping off those who showed up to protest against him in support of Nikki, your missing wife, dude, at the court building as he entered the building. The flipping off, the this, the that, the cursing. And it's just, it's mind numbing. It's like, dude, your wife is missing. Could you like try and give more of a crap? And it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for you, you schmuck. Tyler, where is Nikki? So this is what the sisters screamed at him. And it's a fair question. These are your sister-in-law. This is family. Why aren't you out there protesting with them? Why aren't you out there literally hiring private investigators? In the video Saley recorded, then shared online, of Tyler walking into the court building, Saley can be heard repeatedly asking Tyler, "Where's Nikki?" as he walked closely by her after he flipped off protesters. And remember, Chloe's the last one who spoke to her via text, as far as we know. Tyler shrugged his shoulders at Saley as if to say he didn't know what happened to Nikki as he walked at a swift pace by her with his hands in his pockets. I mean, this, like, what is his face of like, it's like that shrug emoji. I don't know. That's not an innocent person's face, in my opinion. Now, of course, it's innocent until proven guilty, but I mean, like, there's no innocent until proven guilty for being a douchebag. Like, you're being a douchebag, and like, you're not. Like, what? This is so wild to me. Like, you're flipping off people who are trying to help find your wife? This is like such like Scott Peterson energy. I mean, yeah, I don't even think he even flipped off anybody. So these are some photos from it. I didn't expect him to flip me off, and I didn't expect him to be so arrogant, said Saley. Kay Ford, Nikki's other sister, said the abrasiveness is what really shocked us. Kay Ford said on Nancy Grace's television show that Tyler has not joined up with any of the volunteer parties searching for Nikki. Ford said she talked to Tyler before the June 28th hearing, and he said he didn't know what happened to Nikki. Despite Tyler's claims, I mean, and like, not for nothing, this is a woman that you apparently love, that you were in allegedly what you claim a healthy relationship, a good relationship for 15 years. You share 4 children together. I mean, how are you not like pounding the pavement any day? How are you getting sleep at night? Despite Tyler's claims that he doesn't know what happened to Nikki, he continues to recount different versions of different stories regarding his best guesses about what might have happened. Saley told Nancy Grace that when she and Ford visited Tyler at his and Nikki's home, Tyler said Nikki was picked up by an Uber driver and went somewhere. So then he didn't. Then she wasn't picked up or dropped off by friend Justin. Okay. Well, this would be easily retrievable if we could find her phone. I mean, I don't know if the police have custody of her phone, but that would be super easy to find out. Or even see if you can contact Uber and see, hey, like, could you look up somebody with the name with this account and see if they placed an order for an Uber? I mean, that would be easily debunked. In my opinion, would it not? Tyler allegedly told other members of Nikki's family, and also too, you'd probably be able to see on the cell data if they can recover her cell phone, that Nikki hooked up with a lesbian lover. Yeah, this is like the thing that we read yesterday. Like, there's no evidence that she had a girlfriend, a boyfriend, none of this. He's also saying that telling family members that she ran off to Vegas with another guy. Like, this dude is unhinged. And then on the 3rd, he has the fire, which is sandwiched between the June 28 court date and the July 5 court date. So I actually didn't know that. So this was when the hearing was ultimately dismissed. This is 2 days before that hearing. 2 days. And if we learned anything from our friends in Norfolk County, too many coincidences seem to add up to some sort of cover-up, in my opinion. Allegedly. I mean, that's wild. 2 days. 2 weeks after she goes missing is the first one when he's set to go to trial. Judge pushes it off to July 5. June 28 is that, or I'm sorry, what was that June 28 court hearing? I'm just trying to get all my dates together. June 28th, decided to continue the DV hearing until July 5. So he gave a couple more days. Sorry, I thought it was a little bit more time. So he was set to go to trial. I guess there was a continuance. There was a continuance. Then they had this hearing. Then the judge continued it for a few more days. And then he set fire to the rain. And he told authorities that the fire was caused by a catalytic converter, which we just spent 20 minutes talking about. And then July 5, 2 days after the fire, Shasta County District Attorney Stephanie Bridget announced through a press release that her office had decided to dismiss the charges, which we know that stemmed from the December 23 arrest. They made it clear that if they can get more evidence or if we can find Nikki, then we'll 100% move forward with the case. Okay, cool. So then we're going to get a little bit more into Tyler's background because he has a history with the law. But I want to jump back real quick to this interview where they're talking about that video at that June 28 court hearing.
Where's Nikki? Where's Nikki? Tyler, where's my sister? Where's my sister? Where's my sister? Where's my sister? If Tyler's on the streets, no justice, no peace. If Tyler's on the streets, no justice, no peace. If Tyler's on the streets.
Now, I'm kind of curious about this. Who was the one actually on camera, holding the camera and following him here? Was it you, Chloe? It was Chloe?
Yeah.
Well, one, thank you so much for getting in his face. I will say that. I'm sorry, if I come out a bit feeling some type of way towards this gentleman here. The math just ain't mathing, and the timeline ain't timelining for me. Okay. If you are looking at some serious charges, felony charges of DV, and suddenly the person who accused you of doing those things suddenly just disappears, something is off. Something ain't right. And when there's cameras in your face and you just shrug, like, I don't know, it doesn't help your plea optically, right?
No.
As far as Tyler goes, right? So I'm quite curious, how long was she subjected to this type of abuse?
We know that it had gotten a lot worse. Throughout the relationship, I know it started really, it was a really healthy, happy marriage in the beginning. And then I think they would start to argue more. And then I think it slowly got physical, but I think in the last like 2 to 3 years or so, maybe even a little bit longer than that, I think it started to become more physical. And at that point, about 2.5 years ago, it had gotten so bad that the kids were removed from the home because we were witnessing this quite a bit. But she did tell us about other incidences where she did truly fear for her life, but she's was also a strong believer in trying to make things work. And in our culture, divorce isn't common. So that's another piece of it too. She tried very hard to maybe change him. Maybe if the kids are in the home, they can kind of work on the marriage more and get back to where they were before. But as far as we knew, and connecting the dots now, I think it got pretty bad about, I would say, like 3 years ago-ish. Wouldn't you say, Chloe?
Yeah, I think that's when things got like extremely physical. And I think before it was just arguments, maybe a push up here and there. But the last, I think 3 years was probably really terrifying for her.
So did she find any refuge within you all, or or was it kind of like trying to pull her out of something that she was trying so hard to stay in?
I think it was a little bit of both. There were times when, and she always knew our doors were open, so she could come to my house, Chloe's house, my mom's house. But at the same time, like I said, she didn't want that judgment from us. She didn't want, and if she pulled away for a little bit and then she would go back, then she didn't want to talk to us for a little bit because she didn't want to hear from us that to help her guide her in the right way. So I think it was a little of both.
Interesting. I of course I understand. And that could be a very tough situation to be in no matter what. It's just unfortunate. So.
And I will just say, just commenting on that, because I have seen a lot of people kind of give them a little bit of crap of not being there and helping Nikki. And, we don't know. We weren't in the home. We don't know. And those situations are very complicated because there is so many emotions running through it. And essentially, at the end of the day, it has to be up to the survivor themselves to make the decision as well. Like, you can prod and plea and try to physically remove them as best they can, but sometimes that actually pushes them closer into the arms of their abuser. So, and just speaking again from personal experience, I know I talked a lot about my own experiences during the Ashley Benefield case, but yeah, I mean, the more my parents would tell me, like, we really don't like you doing this. Like, we don't like that you're spending all day in this place with this guy. We don't, X, Y, and Z. It would just push me closer and closer to him. And even when I was a child and I was being groomed, 14 years old, that just drew me closer and closer to my monster. So it is really complicated. Especially when there is also children involved too. And you think back 15 years, 14, 15 years of marriage, and you think, wow, like all you have are the good times that you can think of. That's all that gets you through the day. And I can imagine it being incredibly difficult. And I know how it can feel, years later when you're reflecting on all this. It's so easy to blame the people in your life and say, why didn't you help me? Why didn't you save me? Why didn't you just, forcefully remove me and do this, that, and the third? And it's so much more complex and complicated than that. And we just don't know. A lot of people don't know how to handle those situations because a lot of us don't. Most people don't thankfully have to go through experiences like this. So I think ultimately they probably thought they did the best that they could. And maybe that wasn't the best in the long run, but that's the best that they knew that they could do for her. So I think before passing judgment, we need to have a deeper understanding of, what that relationship was like, and if Nikki really felt like, remember, she was also the older sister too, so she probably felt that responsibility of like, yeah, I don't want my little sisters taking care of me. Like, I don't want them to see me as somebody who's weak. I'm supposed to be the older sister, strong, etc. So it's just really complicated.
You guys were there trying to bring awareness because obviously she is nowhere to be found still to this day. Hence the reason why we're here talking about this right now as we speak. Like I said before, the math ain't mathin'. Timeline ain't timelining for me. Everything seems a bit coincidental. And in situations like this, I just don't believe in coincidences. Or she just ups and leaves when this is a moment that she can really take this man down. It just seems a bit odd. Does she have any information aside from him being terrible? Aside from him physically harming her? Was there?
This is really interesting too, because it seems like there was some level of Nikki recording and keeping documentation. I believe I haven't followed this case too closely. Having a brain spasm here. I haven't been following this case too closely, but the Micah Miller, I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but she was also kind of documenting stuff. No, wasn't she also kind of documenting some of the things that were going on in the house and her relationship?
There anything else that she had that could have been dangling over his head that could have incriminated him even more, or anything of that sort?
I don't. She did share a lot of things with us that we she did share a lot of things that I feel would be incriminating if he knew that we knew these things.
I see. What do you mean exactly? I'm sorry for pushing, but I'm going to ask. Can you expand on that a little bit? Just a little bit?
You know what?
Okay.
I don't really have the words to say it, but let's just say when I was sending over the text messages to the investigator, I was a little bit hesitant to.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, wait, the cops are here to help us. Law enforcement's here to help us. Here's everything that she's ever said to me. Here's everything that she knows.
Okay. And that's fine.
I feel that she was around Tyler quite a bit. So I do feel that there were things that she knew about that she would dangle over his head. But I don't think that, and she was a very loyal person. So that's something that I don't think he would ever expect her to share with us, much less to law enforcement.
Okay. And does law enforcement know these things that you just kind of said to me, that there may be some other stuff involved that she may have known?
Most of it.
Yeah, all in that text message that she sent me.
Okay, great. And then that's all that matters. It sounds like, as Grace just said in the chat, it looks like she's maybe she was just keeping receipts, and that's always good. That's always good. If you guys are ever in a situation like that, as safely as you can, try to keep receipts. Even if you're texting in code to your family members or somebody you can trust, going to a therapist, anybody that you can, keep as many receipts as you can, because you never know. And if you're a family member too yourself, and you know that one of your loved ones is going through the same situation, be that advocate for them. And I think it's great that Chloe, it seemed like, had a really close relationship with her sister, enough so where she was comfortable enough to send some text messages, and K2 as well, confiding in her. So I want to jump back now to this article. I'm not going to play this entire interview. You can check it out. I will link it in the description box below, because this video is already getting pretty long. But I want to round things out with some of his background. Now, this is all stuff that is likely, it's public record, right? Tyler's brushes with the law. So I can't imagine this is what he was afraid that would come out to his sisters-in-law. Probably what he was afraid, or potentially that she was dangling over his head, maybe was his drug use. Maybe he had a meth addiction. I don't know. All we can do is speculate, and based on the words that at least what was included in that incident report in December. So is it possible that that could have been one of the things? Is there something darker, deeper than that maybe he wasn't criminally charged with? I have no idea, but it doesn't sound good. So let's look into Mr. Tyler's brushes with the law. So according to public records, Tyler has had numerous run-ins with the law in the last decade and a half. So the entirety of their marriage, Tyler appeared before a Shasta County Superior Court judge to face felony burglary and misdemeanor vandalism charges in 2008. The burglary charge was dismissed, and Tyler pled guilty to misdemeanor vandalism, which resulted in 3 years of probation. 2020, he pled guilty to a DUI charge. His blood alcohol level of 0.20% was more than double the legal limit when he was arrested.
The judge gave Tyler 3 years of probation. Why didn't he do? Yeah, I mean, oh my goodness. It required him to use an ignition interlock device. Following his DUI arrest, Tyler was arrested for driving with a suspended license in May of 2023. So, okay, so it was because of a DUI arrest. So he had another DUI arrest. So in 2020, he had a DUI. 3 years probation required him to use an ignition. So I guess it was still suspended for those 3 years? Following his yeah, okay. So because of the 2020 DUI arrest and charge that he pled guilty to, okay, so in exchange of that, he had a suspended license. And he was arrested in May in 2023, and then he was arrested again 5-6 days ago for the same freaking thing. But that was after the fact, and I guess because he violated that, because he was driving again with a suspended license. Like, take this guy's license away. He keeps doing it. Why do you keep giving it back to him? Even if it's suspended, just take it away completely. He should lose all the right to drive, period, end of story. So this is last year in May, ironically, exactly a year before Nikki goes missing. And then recently he gets arrested for the same thing. Settlement conference regarding the driving with the suspended license charge is set to take place on August 19th, 2024. Isn't that funny? And he just violated it. It's like you've only had a few weeks until this settlement conference was set to take place. Although Tyler has been repeatedly spotted driving in the greater Reading area, sources indicate that Tyler's driver's license is still suspended. A news cafe did not discover any public court records showing that Nikki had a criminal history. And this is so interesting too, because according to that news story that we saw before, and let me see if I can pull this up one more time, because this is so wild to me. Like, why wasn't he arrested for that fire if he literally admitted that he was driving?
Linda Drive in Anderson. That's how it started.
Car left running at this by a car left started here. And we now know that the fire was started here by a car left running at this property on Alinda Road. And we now have confirmed that both the car that caused the fire and this property are owned by Tyler McCain, husband of the missing Nikki Saley McCain.
McCain approached me today while I was filming the damage left behind by the fire, sharing he was cited for it. He told me he just bought a car to fix up and had left it running for a few minutes while he went to get something inside. When he returned.
Wait, so I mean, it doesn't say he was driving it, but if he bought a car, I mean, you bought a car on a suspended license, you were probably the one to pick up the car. You've been spotted by it's seemingly a handful of witnesses saying, yeah, I saw him driving. He was just arrested on this. So, I mean, this dude, you should just take away his license. Period, end of story. He keeps violating his probation. Confidential sources speak out. A source who wishes to remain anonymous to protect their safety spoke with A News Cafe regarding Nikki and Tyler's relationship. The source said that Nikki and Tyler often engaged in fights with one another at their Happy Valley home. So I wonder if this is Justin, the friend that allegedly lives on that property, and added that the source witnessed Tyler physically attack Nikki. But when? And that day? Confidential source told A News Cafe that SCSO deputies visited the home frequently, sometimes 1 to 2 times in the same week. What? One instance in the winter of 2023, not long before Nikki was hospitalized, the source said Nikki was assisted by neighbors after screaming out for help on her and Tyler's property because Tyler was attacking her. Nikki reportedly fled the couple's property, saying Tyler had tried to strangle her, just like in the incident report. Nikki's feet were allegedly bleeding because she had stepped on broken glass inside the home during the fight. Source said Tyler allegedly threw water on Nikki. He loves to do that, doesn't he? Threw her out of the house and locked the doors, which he did. Again, it's the same behavior. Furthermore, the source said Nikki appeared as if she had been struck in the face with facial bruises and swollen lips. According to the source, Nikki also had marks around her neck, which looked to the source as if she had been choked with bare hands. The source echoed that Nikki's sisters, Jesus, have publicly expressed that for several years leading up to her disappearance, Nikki had been a frequent victim of DV. According to the source who shared the story about the bloody feet incident, Nikki occasionally left the couple's home after fighting with Tyler and after being attacked by Tyler, but Nikki always ended up coming back. I mean, how many times have we heard that, right? Source said Tyler works on cars on the property at all hours of the day. So does this dude even work? Does he have a job? Is that his job? Does he have like a business? Does he sell cars? Like fix them up and then sell them? What is he doing? What does he do for money? Does he work at the casino? In addition to the bloody feet incident, source recalled a time when Nikki and Tyler's neighbors called 911 after Tyler was witnessed chasing Nikki around the yard while wielding a large wrench. Why is this guy not in jail? I mean, it's like how many incidences? I know they had the case. I know they were going to trial with it. I know that was all happening. I know it was in the works. But I mean, it's just like too many times. Like, why? According to the confidential source, neighbors also witnessed Tyler pour gas on Nikki's vehicle and once heard Tyler tell Nikki he was going to cut her head off. My God. Chloe, Saley, and Kay Ford are so confident that the SCSO is investing as many resources as possible in their sister's case to ultimately not just find Nikki, but secure justice for her. To date, the SCSO has remained relatively quiet about Nikki's disappearance, causing some people to speculate that perhaps the SCSO is dealing with some serious leads they are not ready to release to the public during their ongoing investigation. But Nikki's family will not remain quiet. We're not going to stop searching. We're going to keep searching until we find her, said Chloe when asked what message she would like to share with the public. And that's where we are. That's as much as we ultimately know. Again, I'm not going to go watch through the rest of this Pascal interview. You can watch the rest of it and I highly recommend it. It's a very well done interview. We get a lot of clarity into, again, their relationship, the timeline, some of the players that could potentially be involved or know at least where Nikki was, what she was doing, who she was with, who she wasn't with, what car she was driving. There's just so many more questions left to be answered. And again, every single day, I just hope that we are getting closer and closer to finding Nikki safe and secure because her children deserve it. Her family deserves it. And she deserves justice. She deserves to live this bright, beautiful life that she wants because this piece of human garbage does not deserve to be free roaming about so he can do the same thing again and again and again and again. I mean, this guy is a repeat criminal. I mean, I don't know why he's able to constantly post bail when he keeps violating his probation from what it seems like. I don't know what other information they have on him. They're probably, all I can do is put my faith into the police department and say if the family feels good about it and they feel confident that they're doing the best that they can, then you know what, I'm going to take their word for it and I'm going to hope for the same too. Put my trust in them as well. But that doesn't mean that we stop talking about the story and we don't do anything that we can do on our end. So if you guys know anything, you live in the Reading area, you have friends, family, etc., please go call this number. It's now been bumped up to a $30,000 reward. You can call 530-638-3855 or text it with any tips you might have if you've seen. Again, her name is Nikki Chang Saley McCain. She has brown and red hair, brown eyes. She's about 4'11", 5 feet, weighs about 100 pounds. She's been missing since, as far as we know, May 18th, 2024. This is the car she drove. She drove a 2002 Chevy Avalanche, light pewter metallic color. The license plate is DP154UT. DP154UT. That's what it looks like. She's a missing woman from Shasta County, 39 years old. Reportedly picked up from a residence near the Wind River Casino in Redding, California. May have been later dropped off at her home on Olinda Road in Anderson, California. Despite efforts, there have been no confirmed sightings of her since that day. So if you have seen her or you've seen her vehicle, you have any knowledge, maybe you were at the casino that day in the parking lot, whatever, please, please, please call. If you want to keep it anonymous, you can call this number at the bottom here, 530-378-4491. But whatever you know, please share it. Or if you know somebody who knows, please encourage them to step forward and share. And with that being said, that's all we have in terms of timeline and updates. As more information unfolds, we will be keeping you updated here on Alexasrewm with any potential updates that come up. In the meantime, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next update on this case from me. And make sure you hit that like button, which is the most important thing you can do for this video, for this story, because it tells the YouTube algorithm that this is newsworthy news and this story needs to be shared by as many people as possible. It is being grossly underreported by the mainstream media, and it is up to YouTubers and content creators and local news stations to get these stories out. So let's get some momentum going for Nikki, and let's get her home safe and sound to her kids, because at the end of the day, they deserve a happy and healthy mother, and she deserves to live a bright and beautiful life on the way, on her own terms, not dictated by some scumbag like Tyler McCain. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.